Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Unlocking ADHD's inaugural youth panel this afternoon. I'm very glad that you're spending the afternoon with us. The reason why we started Unlocking ADHD is because we want to empower ADHDers and their families to live life to the fullest. But this event is not just for those of ADHD, it's for all students. And we know that this period of time, during exam season, is pretty stressful for everyone. And some of you, like many of us in the past, maybe procrastinating and now panicking. So we're trying to see what we can do this afternoon to share some of the tips that our youth panel have implemented over the years and has worked for them, and also to share some of the tips that we have used to help relieve the stress and anxiety during this period of time. So really this event is to have a peer-to-peer panel to share with you, and we hope that you can benefit from this. And what we'd like to do now is to also, just before we start, to run through some of the upcoming events that are happening this month. So if you want to come for this, just scan it with your QR code or go to our website and you can register for it. Yen, can you please help us go to the next slide? Yeah, so the panel will introduce themselves later. Today's event is for youth, by youth. The next event is more for the parents, and that's on Wednesday, October the 6th at 8 p.m. We'll be having a sharing on how parents can support their kids during the exam period and also help with the mental health. Okay. Following week on October 13th, we're going to have a coaching taster workshop for parents on having a strategic mindset in managing ADHD in children and teens. Week after, we have, Yuan, if you can change the slides, we'll also have some more events with different panels. One panel on adult ADHD in the workplace. There's going to be one on diagnosis and management with doctors on the panel. 24th of October, there'll be parenting stories, parent-to-parent sharing. 30th of October, there'll be management of ADHD in children and teens with a doctor panel. And the last one will be like an open mic sharing. It's our first time doing something like this. So please, scan the QR code so you can register for our events. And now, without further ado, I'd like to pass you on to Emily, who will be moderating today's panel. Thank you very much, Emily.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Emily. I'm 22 this year, and I've just finished my work study program, 1 year work study program, whereby I studied part-time and worked full-time at a PR agency, but I was in their digital marketing team. So once again, UA's mission is to empower ADHDers and their families. And we hope with this workshop, Youth for Youth workshop, we can answer your burning questions about exams and tackle any problems you might have with exams too. So today I'm joined with 3 other people who are also fresh graduates and with different backgrounds also. So now I'll get them to introduce themselves. So Trinity, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Trinity. I'm 21 and I'm a recent poly graduate who just joined Unlocking ADHD for a digital marketing and community engagement role. While I did finish my O-levels a long time ago, I occasionally tutor my siblings if they need help with exams. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Kai.
Hi everyone, my name is Kai and I'm currently in my second year of engineering with business at Singapore Poly. Outside of academics, I run a startup called Stickum, where we build robots with chopsticks to make STEM education more accessible to all. I'll be sharing more of the unconventional hacks like skipping exams.
Okay, and last but not least, we have Vanessa. Vanessa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I just graduated from SUSS. I studied international relations, and I've been studying in Singapore since I was before 7 years old. I'm 24 now. I've completed PSLE, O levels, A levels, and also my entire degree was also exam based every year. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa, Trinity, and Kai. Okay, so before we just start our this workshop, just some housekeeping things. For the participants, if you are able to, could you turn on your cameras so that we can see your beautiful faces? And then, so this is also to make it easier for us, me and the other panelists, to interact with you better. Okay, so the first agenda for today, I'll be talking about body doubling, which is basically not just, it helps ADHD students, but I think some of us might have actually done this before, because body doubling is basically having someone around, like a study buddy. And this study buddy will be with you, and it keeps you accountable and motivated, and also makes you less anxious, because there's always someone here by your side doing the same things as you, and you can always ask them for help, or just there's someone by your side while you do this challenge together, which is studying. And so a tip for this body doubling is that you can always set up a daily timetable with this person. For example, you can start with just having breakfast or like lunch with them first. Then you can go on to the first subject that you are studying first, and then take a break, and then go on to the second subject. So as I say, this body doubling is basically like a study date with someone. So while arranging for study dates, it's good for you and your friend if you set an agenda beforehand. For example, what you want to study first, or if you are doing any assignments together, what things you want to do, so that you don't get distracted if you are a type who will get easily distracted with friends. Also, I didn't say this yet before, but I'm a person who gets really easily distracted at home. So I found that especially during O-levels, I cannot study at home at all. So I'm the typical student who would go out to libraries, to Starbucks, and wherever there is a place to study with a few friends, a few study buddies, and then we will tackle the subjects or the assignments we have for the day. And tip number 2, I find that I always love having some music, like some lo-fi, lo-fi music. For me personally, I like to listen to Ghibli music because it's just like more calming to me, and then there's something going on. I'm not alone with my own thoughts, and then I find that I concentrate better with the music. Yeah. Also, I feel like this is a little obvious, but like, yeah, very comfortable clothing and all that you can move in and study in. Yeah, and go to a space where it's conducive for you, like the library or maybe a Starbucks, if you feel more comfortable over there. So as I said before, you might want to set up like some kind of plan to have like subject 1 first, then you take a break before you go to subject 2. Especially the taking a break, we will go through that in detail later. It's very important because I don't know for all of you guys, but like sometimes I do feel that when I study on a certain topic for too long, I tend to lose track of time, and then I get distracted. And also another thing I want to mention is that I usually only study with a few friends, because sometimes maybe if you study with too many people, you might find it more distracting. And so I think it's better to start small first, and then study with the few people that you trust better, and that you concentrate better with them before maybe increasing the group size and all. And last but not least, always like I always like to do this, whereby either before or after the study group, I always send a text and say, hey, are we up for this? Or like after the study date, I will just thank them and say like, hey, thanks for studying with me, tell you for the paper. Okay, so if a study date with more friends since it's due to the restrictions right now, it isn't possible. Also, what I typically like to do now, or like when I was still doing my work study program, because I also have like friends who are studying overseas. What I like to do is we actually have like a Discord group set up just for studying. Like we would do the thing. This is like how you would actually body double, but online, because when we want to have a study time, then I will just text the group, hey, do you want to call now? Then they will join in the call, and then I know that at least like while I'm studying or while I'm working on something, they are online and they are with me doing their stuff also. Yeah, and then it makes me more comforted and like less anxious, because I know there's someone there with me, not in person but still online. Besides having this study group with friends, I am also some people have told me that apparently there's also study groups on Discord where you can study with strangers too by just joining in the Discord channel. And I think some of these Discord channels, sometimes they will be music playing also, because like one person is listening to music and you can also listen to their music while you are studying. And if that doesn't work for you, there are always like YouTube, as I mentioned before, like those lo-fi music study with me videos. In fact, I know there is one channel where it helps you to have like one part where you study, and then it prompts you to take a break, and then it goes back to study again, in which we will explain shortly. Okay. Yep. So this is where we mentioned how it's very important to take breaks. Because this Pomodoro method apparently is you study for 25 minutes and then you break for 5 minutes. Okay, Trinity, would you like to elaborate more on this?
Yeah, so basically the Pomodoro method, like Emily said, is basically you break it up into 30-minute slots. So 25 minutes will be for your serious studying, and then 5 minutes for you to take a break, like grab a drink, take a snack, look out at the trees, and then you can come back and do another 30-minute chunk. Of course, if you feel like you can handle it, you can always extend the time. For example, like 55 minutes studying and then 5 minutes break. And to keep track of the time, you can use like a kitchen timer. The Pomodoro method was actually like born out of a tomato kitchen timer. That's why they call it Pomodoro. Or you can like set an alarm on your actual clock. Yeah.
I would really like to have like that Pomodoro, like the tomato timer at home. So I feel like if I just keep adjusting I don't know, I feel like if I have like that tomato thing, it might help me study more, because I'll be motivated to adjust the timer every time I study.
Can I build back on what Emily said earlier on about body doubling? Sure. So I think what Emily was trying to say is that when y'all are doing your exams and when y'all are studying, I think the body doubling method, it helps keep both of you, whether it's a group or whether it's two people, it helps keep y'all accountable to each other and to the work that y'all need to complete. So this is different for everybody, because some people, they like to go out for whether it's cafes and all, but for me, like I have really bad ADHD, so I've over the years I found what works for me, and what works for me is no friends. I have to be alone, completely alone. That's the only way that I focus, because everything is most of the work I'm studying is theory, and it has to be in my house, and it cannot be in my bedroom. It's this space that I created with a desk outside of my bedroom. And so I've tried many things when I was a student, and I've tried to go to Starbucks, following all my friends, body doubling, everything I've tried. I used to have quite a number of issues in the area. So in the end, I found out what works for me. So everybody has to figure this out, whether you can be alone when you study, or do you need other people, and you need to find like a place where you're comfortable, where you're conducive, where all your materials are accessible to you, whether it's on your online or it's physical. And that is what that is the most important thing in the beginning when you're trying to tackle last minute exam strategies.
Yeah. So, okay, when you have absolutely no time, you're like a few days before the paper, just do past year papers, like forget the textbook. Because past year papers, they basically help you with the format of how the exam's going to work and the questions that came out in the previous years and all the topics. And you can also do these past year's papers under exam conditions. Like set a timer for the actual duration of the paper and make sure you actually complete the paper during the actual duration. Another thing that also helps is spotting questions. Because some topics will definitely come out. So you can study those topics. And those topics that are less likely to come out, maybe you can put less importance on it. Yeah.
Vanessa, I understand you are a tutor, right? So would you like to elaborate more on this topic on past year papers?
Basically, this is, if you're doing, it depends on what exams y'all are doing, but I'm guessing it's mostly according to Singapore, which is O-level, A-level, N-level. And one thing everybody needs to know, being a student here, doing in a local school, for example, is that the past year papers are very important. It's easily accessible. You can get it online. In bookshops, they sell it in Popular. And there's a reason why it's always sold out all the time. It's because the past year papers are it can go as far back as 10 years. And if you buy all of it, and if you look at for a particular subject that you're looking at, and if you look through all the past year papers, you will notice that there is some kind of pattern somewhere. And so it is very important that you know how to tackle these questions before you sit for the exam itself. It won't help that much if you just read all the content and then you just, without looking at the past year papers, you just go for the papers like that. With the past year papers, and the most popular one is called the 10-year series for O-level, N-level, NT-level also. But yeah, the most important thing is to familiarize yourself with answering the questions in exam. Your understanding might be different from what you're asking. So I think as long as you have the gist of what your exam papers are going to be about, then you will be more or less prepared. Yeah.
I remember doing the 10-year series because our teachers, in fact, I don't know about the current students that they are joining us now, but my teachers had they focus a lot on the 10-year series, and like every time, I think once we reached O-levels, Sec 4, I think the last half of the year, every lesson, you would see that our tables will always have the 10-year series, and like it wasn't like a very mandatory thing, but I think it was an unspoken rule, maybe among my teachers and classmates, that we will always bring our 10-year series. You need to bring it to practice over there, and you can ask your teachers on whatever if you are you're sure of. And this also, on the topics you're not sure of, we will also speak more on that later. So Vanessa, actually, I have a question on on this past year papers thing.
Yeah, sure.
So it is what I understand about past year papers that it can span all the way from 10 years ago, right? So will you recommend students to actually do the more current ones rather than the 10 years ago ones, even though they are still relevant?
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, the syllabus has changed a few times over the past 10 years. Yeah. So the best bet is the past 5 years. As long as you can tackle the 5, then it's okay. Maybe you don't need to go so far all the way back, because then they might have taken out a lot of things. Like how last year I also know that they changed the syllabus again.
Oh,
so
okay.
But minor, for maths or something, they took out one topic or something but the rough idea is there already. And Singapore doesn't really change that much in terms of the content. They'll change very minor things. But yeah, but it's really very important to get the past year papers, even for all schools. In JC also, you have to, there are past year papers. It's not readily available as like O-levels and A-levels, but you have to try and get these resources from like your school or your teachers. And it's the same for uni also. You can request, if it's an exam-based degree, then you can request from your teachers, like, what are the past year papers? Because confirm have.
Yeah, I did not know that unis have past year papers to be, but for poly at least, I know that our lecturers will always give us past year papers to practice before the exam. Depends on the module, but yeah, they will always do that.
Yeah, so Ariel asked how to prepare for tertiary level. I can't speak for IT, but for poly, for all the engineering related exams, they always release the past year papers up to about 4 years. And the papers are always the same format. So they will have the same questions. They only change like the numbers by a bit. So some tips would be just do all the past year papers. You don't need to do your tutorials or your notes or whatever. Just do the past year papers until you're really familiar.
Yes, traffic lighting. Okay, so this is what I meant by that you can actually single out the topics that you are unsure of first, because this traffic lighting, as the name suggests, each color represents a different thing. So for red, is the topics that you are just, really no clue and then unsure of totally. And then for yellow, amber, is the topics you know slightly, but it will help more if you had consultations with your teacher, because you aren't totally okay with it yet. And green is the ones that you are, definitely plus chop. You can answer the questions in exam. You don't have to go through them again. Yeah. So, what I like to do last time, when I was taking O's, is I didn't exactly section my my topics using this traffic lighting method, but I will always single out topics that I'm really not sure of, and those are the ones that I will kind of hound my teacher. Actually, me and my other classmates will actually kind of hound our teacher after the lesson, and then like try to like book a consultation with them. And like, in fact, we will actually do it as a group, because I don't know, like, it makes us less nervous lah. And I like less paiseh when we try to ask as a group to the teacher, hey, when are you free for a consultation? Can we do it as a group? Okay, you're free that timing, we will book you. Okay, so this way, you don't spend so much time on the topics that you are already very fluent in. Then you can get some time to improve on those that you are really unsure of. Okay, Rain, next slide, please. Okay, so this is kind of like an example of how you might actually separate and section the topics according to red, green, and yellow. So for instance, you might, as we mentioned before, past year papers are very important. So as you practice through the past year papers, you can use this traffic light method together. And then like after you do the paper, then you go through your answers, right? Then you use this traffic light method and then pick up which ones are the ones that you have more mistakes on. And then, and you're not very sure of the answers and why the answer is as such, because sometimes the past year papers will have the answer, right? And then but as you go through it, you are not so sure why the answer is like that. So those you will section it under like maybe like red or yellow. And then for those that you usually get it correct and you understand why the answer is like this, then you will section it under green. And then you will spend lesser time, consulting your teachers or even school classmates on them. To the other, Trinity and Van or Kai, do you have anything to add on for this?
Probably just ask your tutors for poly.
I don't know if you have, but like you can always, I think, yeah, you can always ask your lecturers. You can always section your past year paper answers or topics based on this, and then ask your lecturers on the things that are red or like yellow. In fact, I don't know about the other polys, but Republic Poly, because I was from Republic Poly, you see, and then they will always have these clinics whereby it is just a consultation they will do with like the people, everyone who is taking like the same module. And then it's very, very important that you turn up for these clinics, because what some of the lecturers like to do is they will always focus more on the topics that were more likely to come out in the exams. And also, if you are thick-skinned enough, like some of my classmates, they always like to ask the lecturer, you know, since you are focusing so much on this, will it come up for the exam? But if it will, and then if it's like, if the topic falls under yellow and red, then maybe that's a good sign that you should actually have like a consultation with your teacher or your lecturer on this. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so scheduling and planning. I think, was it Trinity? Trinity, would you like to elaborate more on this?
Yeah, okay, so basically, if you have like not much time, you can still put out a schedule before your exams, like how much time do you have, and then you make like a monthly and weekly calendar, and you can schedule it in blocks of time, like the Pomodoro Method. For example, like 30 minutes for a certain subject, then you 5 minutes break, and then the next 30 minutes you move on to the next subject. Can I have the next slide? Okay, so, and before you start, you should always make a study table, but a realistic one. Like realistically, how many topics can you cover in a day? And to reward yourself, right, you gotta have breaks. So you put in the breaks first, and you make it like a nice color, so you know, like, hey, this is break time. And then you go back to the subjects. Which subjects are more important, you should put them first. So like you have more attention and energy to focus on them. And key in time to do past year's papers and annotate them, because past year papers are really important, like what Vanessa said, and they'll really help in your preparation for exams. But of course, you don't have to strictly follow the schedule. Like you can allow some flexibility, but always come on track later. And whenever you finish like a study session, for example, you should reward yourself, like treat yourself to a snack or order some bubble tea for yourself, something like that. Yeah.
So Trinity, how do you usually reward yourself after you've like met your goal? Just curious.
Okay. So after I meet my goal, I will like allow myself to go online for like 5 minutes and just listen to music. Like for me, it really helps when I like listen to music and like from games and movies. Yeah.
Okay, so Vanessa, how would you then like kind of advise the students that you're tutoring on how to set up a study timetable, kind of like similar to this?
Just building on from whatever that is being said about scheduling and planning. Basically, in technical terms, like if you want to do it right now, or if you want to know how to make sure that it's a good plan. So let's say you want to do it today or tomorrow, this kind of planning here. First of all, what works for me is that because I'm a huge procrastinator, so this happened to me a lot when I was a student. And what happens is I will cram everything in the last minute. And so, but I will start panicking like maybe 1-2 months before. But all the rest of the months before that, I don't do anything. So the first thing I'll do is I'll count from now until maybe an exam. So let's say if it's about 50 days or 60 days even. So from now until then, have that timeline there. So 60 days. So what I will do is I'll print out from there today's date until the exam dates, and then I'll print out a physical copy, and I need it to be like in some kind of format where I can write things inside like every day, but it's still like an overview. I can see it just by looking at it one time. I don't have to flip for one day. And so with those 50 days in mind, maybe I'll take out the weekends. So I keep all the weekdays. And so then I count how many days is that. So it's about, I don't know, 40. Okay, and then I have the content. This is versus the content that I need to cover by then. So if it's a particular module that I need to do, let's see how many chapters do I have to study from now until the 40 days. How many chapters is there? So maybe if it's like, I don't know, 12 or something. So I have to finish 12 chapters by that date. And so what I'll do is I'll spread it out. I'll spread the 12 chapters out like equally amongst the 40 days calendar. And so you do the same thing for all your subjects. And then in the end of it all, it's not a crazy thing. It's not like you have 10 chapters a day to complete in that 40 days. Probably you'll come out to about maybe 3 or 4. And it's doable, right? If you actually like sit down and focus. So that's how you become less anxious about like how much workload you have. Just spread it out slowly, evenly, like nicely. And in the end, right, you can look at it like in one A4 paper like that, and you will notice that like it's doable. And if you actually study like every day consistently, like during the 40 days, because you didn't study the rest of the time, so you have to focus now. So I think this method works for me like all the time. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on, because you don't understand what I'm trying to say, just let me know.
I've actually used this monthly planner before, and what I actually like to do to kind of like encourage myself to not put everything last minute and then spread it out is, I know what topics that I want to spread out and what day to do them. And then like I will actually text my friend who I might be studying with, whether is it online or in person. I'll ask them, hey, are you doing this topic today? Or are you doing this? When are you doing this topic? If they're doing it on like maybe Wednesday, maybe I can like, change my schedule a bit so that maybe we can study the same topic on that same day. And then like at least I will have like one topic down for that day lah. And this encourages me and it kind of motivates me to complete whatever topics I have with a friend. Yeah.
Like what Van and Emily said, MT asked, what if we only have 2 weeks? And it's just nice, 2 weeks is also the amount of studying I do for most of my poly subjects. So yeah, 2 weeks also works. Just make sure you segment all the subjects properly. You break them up into manageable pieces. And then if you could go to the next slide, you can see all the colors: green color, red color, yellow color. Try to make the red color ones earlier in the daytime if it works better for you. And don't put too many red topics on the same day, because your brain can only process so much info, right? So you maybe start out the day with a green, then you do red, then you end off with like a yellow.
Also, good luck, MT. 加油. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. So
Okay.
like, with ADHD, you're a bit like time blind. So what if you have problems estimating how long the subject will take?
Okay, thank you for the question, Megan.
Can I come in? Sorry,
Okay, sure.
What do you say? What if you have problems estimating? Is it what?
Yeah.
Estimating what?
I think what Megan said was,
How
what
long
if you
it
have
takes.
time blindness and then you have problem estimating how much time you should allocate each subject or each topic,
Okay,
right?
then in that case, right, always exaggerate. Like give yourself more time. If you think that it's 1 hour, then make it like make for like a particular subject or whatever, make it like 1.5 hours or 2 hours.
What helps for me is that since I'm in poly, I just ask my classmates that have been paying attention. Like I ask, which subjects are the hardest, and they'll normally be very clear on which ones are like super duper hard. Which one they'll say, oh, don't bother studying because it's so easy. So when a lot of people are telling you the same few topics are very hard, then maybe double the amount of time you allocate to it. Make it like extra red and make it like 2 blocks worth.
I'm glad we answered your question, Megan.
Hey guys.
Okay, skipping exams. Kai's turn.
This is like the most extreme exam hack that you can possibly do.
Very.
And it's called skipping your exams. So just to give some background as to where I'm speaking from, I was in School of Science and Technology for my secondary school. and I got into SP with the early admission exercise. So, I mean, the most frequent question people ask is whether you can actually skip your exams and whether there will be any consequences. And the answer is no, there won't be any consequences. You can see on my SingPass app, it shows that I was absent for the exam, but they give you two versions of your results. The first one is the one you see with the absent, and the second one is the one without absent. Or if you get F9 for a subject, they also won't show it.
Okay. Okay. While we are refreshing the slides, maybe we can carry on first and let's go back to skipping exams.
Can I
Okay.
just
Later?
can I just
Okay.
add on very quickly? So this skipping exam is not for everybody. It's not like you can skip skip your, I don't know, English O levels. You know,
No.
this point that Kai is bringing up is about strategic skipping, and it's a strategy for when you're really in a desperate situation, for example, and you really don't have the time to cover all the content that you're covering. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. So when you should skip the exams is either when you have a EAE what's it called, offer already from your polytechnic or your JC, or if the course that you're applying to does not need what you're gonna drop. So for example, if you're gonna take engineering, please don't drop A Math or E Math, but you can probably drop chemistry. No matter what, do not drop English because it's a requirement for, I think, both JC and Poly. You can also skip drop a paper if it's unrelated to your career path, assuming you already have that thought out. But when you should not drop is when it's related to your course. You can go to the JC website or go to your Poly course site and check what the requirements are. Most of them should have English as the minimum. And for JC, maybe don't drop because it's slightly harder to get in.
Yeah, it really depends on your situation actually. Like if you have the minimum number of subjects to enter even Poly, so which is probably like 5, then obviously there's no papers that you can skip. You know, this is for people who have the extra, whose schools make them do maybe 7 subjects or very excessive amount, and you do have the freedom to let it go, and not because if you just let it go and you focus on the other subjects, you will pull the grade up for the rest. But if you don't have those extra subjects, or if you weren't accepted into Poly before the results, then then this method might not be suitable for you.
And this is a very extreme method, so you should think a bit more before deciding. And you should also go online and check if you actually can. So a good resource would be Reddit, because on the subreddit SG exams, they have quite a few discussions about it. And you don't need to take MC or anything, just don't turn up for the paper if you do.
Yeah, okay. But it's still a high risk thing, so
yeah, discuss with your parents.
consider options first.
So basically, if you have more than 5 or 6 subjects and you're cramming and you're worried about the end of year exams which is going to be very soon, then and you don't, there's definitely not enough time for you to complete all the content for all of it. So what you can do is you can focus your time on the rest, and you can drop maybe 1 or 2, depending on like where you're gonna go, your future trajectory after that. So you do have that freedom. If you're very desperate, you can drop it. There's no bad consequences that will happen if you go down this path, but under certain conditions. So yeah.
And also, I think it's important to mention that once you do drop the subject, don't think of it as this is extra time for me to de-stress. Think of it as more time to study. Because some people, they drop already, then they're like, oh, okay, I can just take this time to relax and de-stress. Please don't do that. Just allocate that time to studying the topics that you're even worse at.
Okay, so this is what everyone is probably, what is probably on everyone's mind. How do you de-stress? Because, exams are coming, you are stressed. What can we do? So Trinity, would you like to elaborate more on how you would do things to de-stress?
So for exams, like usually towards the exam, you're like really stressed. So what really helps for me is like snacks. So before your study session, just go supermarket, buy your favorite food. Like for me, I really like eating potato chips and studying. So I'll buy like a big bag of potato chips and I'll study. But like also you can buy like sweets and chocolates, little things that you can munch on while you do your studying. Also, right, if you feel too stressed, just take a nap. But of course, you need to set timers for your nap. For example, you can have like a 10-minute power nap. Then once you're refreshed, you go back to do your work. And right before the day of your exams, you shouldn't study until like 1 a.m. You should go to bed early, like let's say 10 p.m. So your brain can absorb all the information you have already. So the next day, during the exams, you'll have a clearer head. And also what really helps is, for example, after a study session, you can like go exercise, like take a walk in the park. There's a lot of neighborhood parks around. So you can just take a slow walk. You know, sometimes, especially during the evening, right? People like to walk their dogs. So you can see them really cute doggos in the park. Yeah. And it really helps. And also you can listen to music. Spotify has a lot of good playlists. For example, they have one for like calming exams, jazz for exams. Or if you really like a certain movie or game, you can just listen to the instrumental soundtrack if it helps you. And of course, you should have a support network to help you, like a group of friends that will encourage you during your journey. And then if this is the group of friends you study with, you guys can go out for a meal after you study. Or like after papers, you guys can go eat together. Or you can do whatever hobbies you like after the study day is done, like playing music or, you know, writing, drawing, whatever you like to do, really. And of course, you can also, if you have pets, it's really good to like play with your pets. For example, like after you study, then your dog comes up to you, you can like pet your dog, take your dog for a walk. Yeah. So these are just some ways to deal with exam stress.
Okay, so adding on to what Trinity said, on the music part, what I like a tip that I've picked up from friends is that you know when you are doing study dates with people and then you are listening to that music, right? And then if you find that certain song or like these few certain songs really help you concentrate a lot, then you know, if what I like to do is if you have Spotify, is to classify them under one like your own album or something, but a nice album.
There's Spotify playlist, right?
Playlist. Oh my god, sorry. Okay, I don't use Spotify as often anymore. I'm sorry. Anyways, just classify their playlist. But very
like what Shinwon said, video game music playlist. Actually, yeah, I agree. They're really good for studying. Example games like popular games like Genshin Impact. They're really good instrumentals. Yeah, like what Andrea said. Like the music is so good and it really helps you focus.
I don't know about y'all, but like I have a few friends who also have ADHD who mentioned to me that somehow gaming music because it helps them concentrate more somehow. Maybe because it's more upbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So like if you like to play the game, then you listen to the music, then you feel more motivated to study, right?
Kinda, yes. So Ven and Kai, do you have any other methods to de-stress?
I go to the gym.
Exercise. Okay.
Yeah, exercise.
Can I build on from that?
Sure.
So so I have really bad ADHD, right? So yeah, I cannot do all these things like eating snacks and then listening to music, taking a nap. Like I cannot. So when I'm stressed, like for me, it's a very mental issue for me. It's like if I can't fix it systematically, then there's no way I can do anything like yoga or meditating or anything like that that is going to help what I feel. So what happens, like when I feel stressed or when I feel pressured and I'm freaking out in my brain, you know. So this is why the other strategies that we shared, it also it helps me. So when I map out what I need to do, and I, like, when I'm going crazy about the workload, when I map it out like that, when I plan it in a very nice way that can be followed very easily, it makes me less anxious, because it makes me feel like I have some control now. I can control these days ahead, these next 40 days, for example. So that alone, planning it like that and taking a long time to plan like that, it de-stresses me. Also, another thing that I do before I study all the time is, like, I'll clean my room until this, I don't know why, I just have to clean it, like, until it's spotless, so that, because I'm studying outside of my room. Because if I study in my room, I'll be very tempted to go on my bed. So I have to study outside of my room. And I cannot start studying outside if, like, my room inside is dirty. I don't know why. It's just like that. So before I study, there's always some routine. I'll clean like obsessively, and then have my whole calendar there, everything planned out. This helps me to de-stress. Also, you can try, if you like, not so much, but just coffee, so that you can be playing, so your hand is, like, you know, busy drinking, like that, something like that. Then you can focus better after that also. Kai, what do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense for me also. Eating snacks wouldn't help me much. But I think now, if you guys don't have anything else to add, I can answer who asked? Zachary's question. Okay, so Zachary asked, is it possible to skip your CA, so like your mini tests and your MSTs for poly? And for exam, I think the answer is no, because you have to really read the fine print. You can go to your website, and most polys, I'm from SP, and for SP, you cannot skip your final exam, because MSTs and exams are treated differently. If you miss your MST with an MC, they will redistribute the points to your other exams. So there'll be a higher weightage. But for your exam, if you skip it, you get 0. You can see on the screen here, it says TX or AB, the score will be 0. So even if your doctor writes a very, very sad story for you, you just get 0. And you immediately lose out on that 40%. So MST plus mini tests, probably not. But what I did for mine was, I skipped my MST paper, but it was calculated because I had to get above 50% for my MST in order to do better than if I skip the paper. So this one you can calculate by yourself. You can look at the equation here, whether it's worth it for you to skip it or not. But just make sure that it's a redistributable component, because if they don't redistribute it, you're screwed for that exam, because you just get 0.
So I think we can answer the question on how, if someone asked if they were to study last minute and then not finish studying the night before, should we continue or sleep early? I would say, on my opinion, based on my opinion, I think it depends. Like, I'm going to refer back to the traffic light annotation method. So I think it depends, because using the traffic light method, if you think that you have more topics that are already green, and if this topic is on like red or like yellow, but like you have way more topics that are green already, I would say that you shouldn't continue and then you should sleep. But to each their own lah. So if you feel like that topic is indeed you have more reds and yellows not done yet, then maybe I think you should split up, pick from there, and then focus more on those, and then get some rest afterwards. Yeah, if you have very little time left, you might as well just like strategically pick what to focus more, and then focus on that, use your energy, focus on that, and then be done with it. Because if not, you're not going to get much done otherwise. Okay, so Trinity and Kai, do you have other thoughts on this?
I think it really depends on what kind of person you are. For me, I cannot stay up too late, because if I don't sleep, then the info doesn't even come out at all. Even if it's already in my head. So I think you really have to understand yourself.
Yeah, like for me, I sleep early. So what I'll do is I'll sleep early, wake up early. Like let's say I sleep at 10 p.m. and then I'll wake up at like 7 a.m. after eating breakfast, then I'll study in the morning. It's like whatever helps focus for you best, I guess. Like I focus best in the morning, but there are some people who like focus best at night. So yeah, but make sure you get 8 hours of sleep so you are focused and ready for the next day. Yeah, don't stay up too late studying until like 6 a.m. or something.
So yes, Shane asked if you study better at night, then so depends again, like on maybe you should be more strategy on this. So for traffic lighting, like I think maybe you could schedule your time a little bit differently. So maybe you can do more of the yellow topics during the day, then because you are more fluent in it already, right? So when you are more focused at night, then that's where you can do some or like most of the red topics, but don't stay too late lah. Yeah, even though I sometimes stay late too, but yeah, as I said earlier, focus, get your energy to focus on the topics, the few topics you want to, and then be done with it. Kai, actually, you mentioned before that what you like to do before exams is to not to restrict your gaming, right? And to also restrict your time on your phone.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more on that? I'm actually more kind of interested to know that.
Yeah. Actually, no, I don't like it, but it's just something I have to do, because I find that when you're playing games or using your phone like right after you study something, then your focus went from that topic to something else that's completely different, and it doesn't kind of sit in your head like what you just learned. So what works for me is for my 2 weeks of rushing my exams and studying, at the end of the day, I don't use my phone. I don't like open TikTok or Instagram. I just like sit there, read something else, or just go exercise. And I just let this repeat for the next 2 weeks. But if it works for you, I mean, if you really need to de-stress, then maybe it's better to use your phone or whatever. But gaming in general, probably not the best idea, because it's quite distracting.
Yeah, like if you really have the game, for example, like limit yourself like 1 hour a day, you go on game. And then that's after studying lah. And then after that 1 hour, you can't touch your game anymore. Yeah.
And it could also be if you really like enjoy gaming and you're used to gaming like a few hours a day with your friends, maybe you just like the social element. So you could just have like a Discord call with your friends without gaming, just like talking about what you guys studied or whatever.
Also, I find that if you were to I find that it doesn't work for me if I were to just study, then game, and then go back to study again, because I will be way too distracted by gaming to go back. So I would rather that I allocate a specific time, maybe after or preferably after that I will allow myself to game, and then the rest of the time I don't touch it or I don't think about it first, because if not I'll get distracted and not study at all.
The best way to think about it is like if your brain is like a sponge, then we mentioned earlier that don't put too many red color topics because it's just a lot of information, right? So you can also think of using your phone as like another topic by itself, because it's also info going into your brain. So if you have like already crammed so much info, then you still add on the info from your phone, it might just erase the stuff before. For me,
Okay, so as I was saying before, so if you all have any other questions on how to cope with your exams, and what we have mentioned on the strategies that we have mentioned before, you can always contact us on our different social media channels. We have Facebook, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. And if we also have like our website where we also have articles on these strategies. Please do check out our website for more of such things that can perhaps help out your exams. Okay. So without further ado, thank you everyone for coming to this workshop. I hope you have a great weekend ahead, and I hope we have helped you in your burning questions for your exams. Yeah.
iPad just asked.
Oh, okay.
My son
sorry.
is 15
Yes.
and can't
Yes,
plan
David.
and can't stop looking at his phone. At what age do you start? I think when I was like really self-disciplined, when I had like the self-discipline to just stop using my phone was in poly. Because after you take that few months of holiday after O levels, you kind of lose all that self-discipline for studying. So only after poly you get your first results, you're like shocked by it. Then you're like, okay, I have to adopt these study habits. But if he really can't stop, maybe put like a timer on his phone that limits the amount of phone screen time.
Yeah, I think I started when I was probably about 16 there, because at that age is when is the O levels. So I think at this point, maybe your son has to feel the urgency for himself, and then try and figure out how to work through these strategies that we're trying to share. I think for the phone thing, I don't know, take it away. That's what my mom did anyways. So I don't know.
If there's no other questions, I will hand the time back to Moon.
Okay, yeah, thank you for attending. Before you go, right, we actually would love you to fill in a feedback form. So if someone could cut and paste it in the chat here, and then you can just click on it and feedback, because we'd like to know whether this was a useful event for all of you who are attending. You can also share your comments in the chat. Like maybe if you learned a couple of things that you didn't know before, and put it in so the panelists also have the encouragement. Or if you have any words or messages for them, that's also great, because it's always good to get feedback. The feedback form as well, we'd like to find out if there are other topics that would be useful to you as youth, so that we can also, basically be helpful. Okay, we also want to build our tribe here. So if any of you have ADHD or suspect of ADHD, reach out, okay? Because we want to be that safe space. We'll be launching virtual support groups soon. And one of the things that people with ADHD or suspected ADHD feel is that they always feel they're alone. And we want to say that you're not alone. Quite a few of us, in this group here today, have ADHD, and we accept it and we embrace it, because there's so many strengths that come with ADHD, and we really want to encourage more people to learn about the strengths, because once you have those strengths, you can really go very far, very high. I think Kai has shared a story on our website before, and then Vanessa as well, and there'll be some interviews in Mothership coming up. But Kai's an entrepreneur. That's pretty cool. He's 18, okay? He's in poly, gone through a lot, but he's got a good life. Okay, so Vanessa has graduated from university. She's doing all kinds of professional exams and also tutoring. So she's just doing well. So guys, we just want to have this event with Unlocking ADHD, because we really want to give hope that there is a better life, and you can have a better life. Just take control and power yourselves, okay? And always keep the relationship with the family and the communications going, because that's part of the formula to be able to handle things and manage life better. I won't hold you guys much longer, but really want to wish you all the best in your exams. Based on what you've heard today from the panelists, take what resonates with you, what fits with your circumstances, run with it, and really just do your best, and keep in touch. Okay, wish you a very good afternoon. Take care, guys. Sorry, is the chat in the chat? Have you guys put the feedback form? Fantastic. Is there? Okay, great. So we'll just leave this on a little bit longer for any other last minute questions on chat, or just unmute yourself and just ask out before we formally close the event. So we'll be around for a few more minutes if you want to hang out and just say a few things.